George Floyd's death sparked massive protests across the country against police brutality. And if you're like me, your social media feed was and still is swallowed by a debate about centuries-long systemic racism and violence against Black Americans. But police brutality is just one part of the picture. There's a lot of evidence that gun violence disproportionately impacts Black Americans. According to a study conducted by Everytown for Gun Safety, a gun violence prevention organization, Black Americans experience almost 10 times the gun homicides, 15 times the gun assaults, and 3 times the fatal police shootings of white Americans. These last few months, we've heard various calls to action, like a push for defunding the police or increased police presence in protesting cities and communities of color. But the question is, how do Black communities who have dealt with decades of being overlooked and under-resourced address keeping their communities safe? Let's take a look at 2 organizations, one in Georgia and the other in New York, to see how they tackle these issues in their communities. In 2005, Aisha Sekou started Street Corner Resources, a full-service anti-violence youth employment, education, and training program in Harlem, New York.
Basically, I started because I saw young people not having access to resources. We refer young people to trainings around the city, and we also refer them to educational programs, and we stay with them to make sure that they are successful in their efforts.
Every Friday and Saturday, Street Corner Resources outreach team, Speak Peace Forward, occupies hotspot street corners in their community to show that they are standing for peace and do not expect to see any further violence.
We look at violence also as a public health issue. The violence is usually related to a number of things, and what we try to do is bring the things that are good into the community. I always say the trigger is pulled long before the trigger is pulled. It starts somewhere. It doesn't start with the gun. It starts long before the gun gets in the hand. So we have to talk to our young people. We have to hear them and not just talk at them, but listen to them and see what they're thinking and how they're feeling.
Almost 1,000 miles away in Atlanta, Philip Smith, the founder of the National African American Gun Association, has built a group that supports Black gun owners' safe gun use for self-defense and sportsmanship at a time when we rarely see images of anyone other than white Americans open carrying. According to Smith, NAGA has rapidly grown since its creation in 2015. He says they have 35,000 members and counting, 60% of whom are women, and 75 chapters across the country.
Those are our rights that our ancestors, our Black ancestors, fought for and died. And I'll be damned, excuse my English, I'm gonna let one person or a group of whatever tell me that or scare me off into exercising my Second Amendment rights.
NAGA has also created a program called NEST, NAGA Emergency Support Team, which focuses on providing support for communities that could otherwise be left behind during disaster circumstances. But this is not a new fear for Black people. As seen in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and high COVID-19 infection rates for Black Americans, the feeling of abandonment from those in power is an issue Smith's organization is currently focusing on.
It's one thing to sit and be hopeful that someone can help you from the local government or law enforcement or emergency services. But it's another thing to realize that those services don't guarantee you anything. They may or may not come.
Mirroring the Black Panther Party for self-defense, NAGA shows up in a time of unrest for Black folks as a Black pro-gun organization. But like the Black Panther Party did, is working towards the central goal of serving and advocating within and for the Black community.
I should be able to tell you we're giving away backpacks. We're giving away scholarships to train Black women. We're helping Black men get their concealed carry license. We're putting kids through college by continuing our scholarship program that we started.
Smith believes many communities with gun violence have a few things in common: poor educational systems, poor relationships with law enforcement, and poor skill sets that would otherwise allow them to get jobs. Similar to Sekou, Smith says with all these things at play, many people are left to do whatever it takes to live and provide for their families.
So if you really are about gun control, let's go after the disease, not the symptom. The disease is we're not having a structure for those folks to function and become productive citizens.
So we look at violence as an infectious disease, but we treat that violence aiming to help young people change their lives and to strengthen the community. The bigger message is I am peace. So we try to use the word violence less and the word peace more, because that's what we're trying to create, a mindset that receives the idea of peace.
For Smith and Sekou, it's about making their communities and their country better for Black folks.
We have to start looking within and making our own heroes, heroines. We have to make our own solutions. We have to do these things because no one else is going to help us.